That's great.
I walked.
I'm glad you came here. Yeah.
My club meets tomorrow night, and I hardly ever go to night games.
Oh, is that right?
Because they go out to the bar and go drinking.
Oh, yeah.
And it's pleasant, and I got to go back. So anyway, it sounded like a good program.
Yeah, that's right. We have a lot of good programs, so it's good.
Okay.
Nice to see you more often, yeah.
Well, I'll see you on Monday, too.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm out of town. I'm going to be absent this time. But,
so is this a Zoom only, or is it in person?
no, it's in person.
Okay. I figured out.
Okay, we're going to get things going here in about 2 minutes.
You can't see who's there.
2 minutes? No. 1 minute. Go! Go! Okay. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Livermore. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you, club members, for what you do for our communities, both near and far. And Chris Eisen, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And it looks like the songsters are approaching. Great.
Hello, fellow Rotarians. Glad to see everybody today. We thought Roger's presentation today on energy for the developing world has a lot to do with nature, and so we thought we'd all sing together, "What a Wonderful World." Hey, and this is in 6/8 time, so let's sing real good.
As always, the songsters never cease to amaze us. And let's see, is Kathy Coyle available for Thought for the Day? Great. this impromptu?
I know.
I'm taking my time.
Would you like the mic?
Thank you, Matt. Well, I do have a thought, and my thought is that it is a beautiful day, and it's a beautiful world, and it's a wonderful day to be in the neighborhood, as Mr. Rogers would say. He's one of my favorite people, so won't you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Thank you.
I think Kathy has joined the Sheila Faliano Thought for the Day Club.
It works.
Thank you.
It does work, yeah.
Meeting front line. Okay, here we go. Linda Stanford, Spur reporter. Ted Michaels, Spur publisher. Don Wentz, photographer. Dennis O'Brien, AV. Thanks for all your work this week, Dennis. And Don on AV, I really appreciate it. And anyone else who was involved with that. And let's see, we got Dennis O'Brien on AV, and we have Don Sweeney, the greeter today, among some other duties that will be occurring later. Even more frontliners. Sonia's back, and Debbie Peck. Oh, David Rounds is sitting in still. Okay, so David and Debbie are here as our sergeants at arms. Web Mojo, Kathy Coyle. Thank you, Kathy. Public Outreach, Kelly Bowers. I don't know if Kelly's here today. She's here in spirit, certainly. And she's always reaching out on behalf of our club, for the public. And videographer, Tim Berry, right here. Thank you, Tim.
Sure.
So next, do we have any, we have some introductions here. Any visiting Rotarians in the room? It's Bob. Here we go. Kathy, thank you. We have a roving mic from Sheila.
I'm happy to introduce Emily Wilson. She's visiting from the Livermore Morning Club.
Wonderful, Emily.
Hello, Emily. Good job. Emily knows how to do that.
Any?
Here we go.
Alan.
I'd like to introduce Audrey Horning, who is formerly our accountant, by the way. Anyway, she's a member of the Pleasanton Downtown Club. And anyway, so.
Hello.
Hi, Audrey.
Welcome, Audrey. Thanks for visiting.
All righty. Bob. Stand up. Okay. President Pat and fellow Rotarians, it is my honor to introduce Mr. Bob Tutnott, electrical contractor. He is Rotarian extraordinaire, past president of Dublin Club. You've been just about everything, haven't you, Bob?
Yes. About. That's good enough.
That's good enough. Let's welcome Bob.
Welcome, Bob.
You ready?
Any guests of Rotarians?
President
One
Pat.
more, Linda.
Yeah, sure.
Michael.
President Pat, fellow Rotarians, it's my pleasure to introduce for the 4th or 5th time my grandson, Sebastian Franz Ferrucci, all the way from Lodi. Sebastian, here.
Welcome, Sebastian. And how many guitars is he now working with?
We bought one this weekend.
Great. Wonderful. Okay, next up. Yes,
I
Ted.
have someone who we don't know if he's a guest, a member of the club, an almost member of the club, or just came in out of the side.
Is this person our...
He's also speaker today, so
He's our speaker today.
yes,
Great.
he is.
Wonderful.
Roger Aines.
And I'd like
like to introduce somebody special. Pat,
Thank you, Dennis.
This is Madeline McMenamin.
Who helps me out at the rotary table in our dining room. Yeah, absolutely. Any other guests? So we can move on to announcements. And we have two students. Is it two students in the month today? Or? Yes.
My pleasure to be part of the Student of the Month program, and this month we are honoring two students, both from continuation school. One of them is able to be present, the other is not. So here to introduce that student is the principal of the continuation school, Eric Taylor.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Travis Hilbert. As the proud principal, one of the greatest joys of my job is getting to celebrate an incredible milestone of our students, and today I have a bittersweet honor for recognizing a young man who's truly left a mark on our campus, and that's Travis Hilbert. Travis is a junior here, and he didn't just come to our school to put in time. He came here with a mission. Because of his incredible hard work ethic, stellar focus, he's earned enough credits to officially transfer back to Granada High School for his senior year.
Wow.
While we are incredibly proud of his academic success, what we are going to miss the most is who you are as a person. I asked his teachers to share a few words about their feedback, and everything was very overwhelming. They describe you as mature, responsible, incredibly hardworking. Your attendance is stellar. Your willingness to participate and help out our staff never went unnoticed. But beyond the schoolwork, Travis has brought a rare kind of positivity to Devloping. Our staff noticed that you make an effort to say hello to everyone in the hallways and spread kindness everywhere you go. On a personal note, the teachers mentioned how deeply appreciative you are, never leaving a conversation without saying thank you for their time and for their help. Travis, you've done an amazing job with us, and you know we will deeply miss you. As you head back to Granada, carry the same respect, maturity, and work ethic with you, and you are going to go on to do great things. So let's give a round of applause for Travis.
I want to thank everybody for awarding me the Student of the Month, and I want to thank my brother and grandma for coming all the way out here today to support me. And not too sure what I'm going to do after high school yet. I'm still in the process of figuring that out. Well, thank you, everybody.
Okay, so we have double the fun today. So part of my role as an administrator for our alternative education programs is I get to oversee 2 schools, 3 programs: middle school at Vineyard, high school at Vineyard, and high school at Dalbell. We have 3 separate schedules, 3 different, well, you name it, it's just crazy. But now I'm representing the Vineyard side of the house, okay? So Vineyard is an independent study program that supports students who are struggling in larger school settings, and the student that we're recognizing is an 8th grader going into 9th grade. Unfortunately, they're not able to be here today, so I just want to give a couple of brief words about Zachary Blue. Again, one of my greatest privileges as being a principal is to watch students find their voice, their footing, and thrive. When Zachary first came to us in the middle of his 7th grade year, he was carrying a heavy weight. A large middle school environment wasn't just a right fit for him. He didn't want to attend school, and counselors noted early that Zach had not said more than 3 words in any given class. Even during the first few weeks at Vineyard, he kept to himself. However, quiet waters run deep. The turning point for Zach was when a teacher gently encouraged him to read a paragraph or 2, and Zachary simply said, "Sure, I'd love to do that." And from that moment on, he became little by little more sure of himself in answering questions and participating and becoming more deeply engaged. He's had unwavering support from his family, and it's just been amazing to watch this young man grow. More importantly than grades, Zach looks happier, he's found his voice, and he's finding confidence, and he's reminded all of us why we do what we do. Zachary's teachers have expressed he's an absolute pleasure, and they're incredibly proud of his accomplishments and his resilience and his bright future ahead of him. So congratulations to Zach. Thank you.
Tim Berry. Thank you for that introduction, Pat. I'm here to congratulate and award the person who had the most assists for the month of April. As you know, we call them assists. Each of the little jobs that it takes to run these meetings, to be the greeter or to do the thought for the day or a variety of other things are called assists. And last month, 24 of you had some part to play in our meetings. So thank you very much. We have the runner-up is Sheila with 7 assists for the month. Thank you, Sheila. And the one who won the top with 8 assists is Joel. Wow! Joel! I didn't put my slide there today. Well, as they say in the Oscars, we'll accept this for Joel. This is a gift card to Uncle Hughes. So I looked on our spreadsheet of sign-ups for the jobs, and June is awfully slim, so please look at that and put your name in on some of the slots. They're very easy to do, particularly photographer. It's not that easy, is it, Don? But it's a good job for people who are just getting their feet wet with our running our meetings. Thank you so much, folks.
Thanks very much, Tim. It looks like June is full of many opportunities then.
Yep.
Great. Dennis.
I thought I'd mention that we had some rave going on this past weekend. Saturday we had a bunch of scholarships that we awarded to veteran students at Las Positas College. $9,000 worth of scholarships, including our inaugural Lieutenant Thomas V. Kelly Jr. Scholarship to an Army veteran, Kyle Lippich. And you see, he's the guy on the right. I don't know the characters on the left, but he's the guy on the right. Now, this Lieutenant Kelly, if you hadn't heard about this scholarship, Lieutenant Kelly grew up in Livermore, went to Livermore High School. World War II came. He joined the Army Air Corps, became a navigator bombardier on a B-24 bomber that was nicknamed Heaven Can Wait. Well, it went down in the Pacific, and the crew was given up for loss. A couple of years ago, they found the aircraft, and Lieutenant Kelly's remains were brought back to his family here in Livermore. Last Memorial Day, just a year ago, he was put to rest at St. Michael's Cemetery with full military honors. Our Rotary Board agreed to establish a scholarship in his name, Lieutenant Thomas V. Kelly Scholarship, and this is the first award. Now, I got to tell you about this guy, Kyle, that won the award. He was very gracious. He really loved the idea of getting the scholarship. And at the end of the meeting, as the MC was thanking everybody, he ran up, grabbed the microphone, ran to the stairs where his girlfriend was going up the stairs, took a knee, and proposed to her.
Oh, nice.
We were waiting for her to say, nah. But they got engaged. And I thought, we picked the right guy.
Can't beat that. Yeah. Let's see, next up we have the Ready program. There you are.
Just want to give an end of academic year report on the Ready program as the Livermore School District ends its academic year this week. We've had a very busy couple of weeks. We had our last field trip last Saturday to the Oakland Museum, and thank you for those who did get back to me offering to drive. We solved that problem by renting a large but Mercedes 15-passenger van, and we were able to accommodate everybody. I learned a new skill, which is bus driver, for a bunch of rambunctious middle schoolers. Nobody was hurt in the experiment, and we didn't get on KTVU News, as I was afraid we might, but we had a wonderful time. We saw many of the animals that we don't normally see. And then Monday we had our end-of-year celebration, which always includes water balloons and hijinks, and just a congratulations and a heartfelt thanks from the students and also from our mentors, as well as our Energizer Bunny teacher, Lori Valenzuela. So next year, as you may recall, we have expanded the program. We finished the year with 23 participants celebrated on Monday. On and off during the year, we had about 26 to 28 students this year. So we are always looking for additional mentor tutors. And then we're going to double down a little bit more. My observation, I think verified by my discussions with the teachers, is that having the students only on Monday afternoons, there is not enough retention from Monday to Monday for some of the subjects that we're trying to reinforce. And so I've talked to several of the teachers, and whether I have to do it alone or with some of you to assist, I'd like to start basically a homework office hours for students, whether they're Ready participants or any students, to get help after school, so that we can kind of, to use a ceramics analogy, so we can kick the wheel a little bit more frequently than every week. I'm finding that is helpful. And I will say, some of the more shy, introverted students who we could not get to go to the board to do math problems early in the school year were in our last session where we were doing math in the little room where we get together to do that. Two of the girls were actually kind of competing with one another and elbowing each other out of the way to complete some stacked decimal multiplication, which they were going to see on the state math test the following day. Anyway, wonderful experience. Very thankful to be a part of it. I hope that some of you will put your hand up this year. We're going to have an organizing meeting sometime in late July, early August, and I'd like us to get a little bit better trained on being tutors and mentors, because I think certainly I'm flying from the seat of my pants too often in doing that, and we could use some help from the teachers to do that. So thanks for the time. It's been a very great year, and we appreciate everybody's generosity in making this program fly each year. It's really a valuable program. Thank you.
Thank you for always being ready with Ready, Glenn Kubiak. Next up, Paul Schmidt.
Yes! yes. So, if any of you have been driving down 580 by the airport, Rodeo Band is up. And that means we're just a few weeks away from the Livermore Rodeo and the Livermore Rodeo Parade. I want to remind you that on the Wednesday before, which is the Saturday, Friday, Thursday, every Saturday night. 10? Okay, Tuesdays at 9, 10. Is that we will be having lunch at the rodeo grounds. But you have to sign up and pay $25. So I'm hoping, I haven't checked our website, but I would think we would have something. So you can pay $25.
Did Sheila do a QR code for that?
And
Yes, it's all set up.
I've been asked to put it on the website, so if you want me to put it on the website.
So you need to pay, you need to fork over $25. People, especially today, have been great on signing up to help, but we still need, it takes 50, 60 people to run the parade on parade day. So if for some reason I didn't hit you up today, send me an email and I'll sign you up, because we still need some people to help line up and with the parade marshals. And start looking, make sure you have your orange vest. You'll be needing your orange vest on Saturday, June 13th. Your yellow vest.
It's yellow.
Thank you.
Where to go?
Yellow, the 10th. Okay, yellow vest.
Thanks for that update, Paul. We really appreciate it. And I just want to mention the Rotary Club of Livermore Board has picked this year's Grand Marshal, and that is John, I have to get his name correct. I thought I used to think it was Bost, but it's Bost. So John Bost is our Grand Marshal, and the Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance will receive the Community Service Award under the leadership of Tri-Valley Nonprofit Alliance Executive Director Kathy Young, who is here, right here, Kathy.
President Pat, can I just interrupt for a second?
Sure.
I know my name was up there, but Pat and I just had a conversation, and normally you would submit nominations, so I guess we made really good nominations. But the board ultimately makes the decision on that, and so I really appreciate the board making the decision.
The board was wholeheartedly aligned with your initial decision, or recommendation is what I want to say.
You had to vote yes.
President Pat, I have one brief announcement.
Yes.
I put flyers on everybody's tables to invite you to celebrating Goodness Village for our 5th anniversary and fundraiser. Goodness Village is a 28 tiny home community for formerly homeless. It's out on the Crosswinds Church property. If you're not familiar with that, you see it from 580. It's out by the airport, the golf course, and near the outlets. It's permanent supportive housing for people for formerly homeless. And again, June 20th, right here in this room. There's a QR code on there. We certainly would love to have you there. If you can't attend, we would certainly take any donations. We live by grants and donations only. And it's, again, providing 28 permanent supportive housing for formerly homeless from our community. So thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Any brag and boast today? Oh, Debbie.
I'm super proud of my youngest granddaughter. She graduated last weekend from UC Channel Islands with 2 bachelors, one in nursing and one in health science. She graduated summa cum laude.
Wow.
And she got a job today in a hospital over there.
Wonderful.
$50 to the club and $50 to the Music Foundation.
Great, thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie.
That's a good brag and boast if you ever realize it. Thank you.
I was in Texas this past week for the graduation of our grandson. We have 6 grandkids, but only one of them was a grandson. Anyway, he graduated from Marshall, Texas High School, He has his pilot's license. He's going to Baylor University to become a commercial pilot in aviation science.
Wow.
I don't have a brag or a boast, I have a correction. I failed to ask all of the mentors who have volunteered at all this year in Ready to please stand up. Please stand up. Paul, certainly you.
Oh, wonderful.
Carol,
Yes.
all of the mentors, I forgot to acknowledge you. Thank you very much. I would gladly pay $50 for having made that mistake.
President Pat, I have a brag. My granddaughter, Jade, she's a third-year resident, going to be a doctor soon, and she's at Travis Air Force Base because she's in the military. She's done really well, and she just got elected chief resident by her peers and the doctors there.
Congratulations to you. Wonderful. Next up, so next week our presenter will be Spencer Christian. And who is sponsoring Spencer Christian? Okay. Any comments from Trudy and Dave?
They're gone. They're in Texas.
Oh.
They're out of town.
I guess we won't be hearing from them. Okay. Roger, would you please come up? I have the honor of introducing Roger. I'll make it short and brief, Roger. So today we have a speaker who needs no introduction, but I'm going to kick it off with one anyway. I first met Roger when he was giving a presentation way back during the Valley Study Group days. And our wives were acquainted, and we became friends and discovered our shared, this is Roger's and my love of meteorites, which Roger first learned about when he was doing his PhD at Caltech. And Roger and I still love talking about meteorites when we drink wine and other things. So Roger's been a lab employee for 42 years working on environmental cleanup, large-scale computer models, and most recently climate. Roger will be retiring on his 70th birthday, a youngster, holy smokes, 70th birthday, and is looking forward to having more time to spend on new issues like Rotary. Please join me as we welcome Roger to the podium.
Thanks very much, Pat. And I have to tell you, Pat's still the only person I know who owns a piece of Mars. It's a great story. You should ask him about it. How many of you own a piece of Mars? I don't. Oops.
That's the wrong way.
It's the big button. Okay. So, for much of my 42 years, I've been the chief scientist of the energy program at Lawrence Livermore. And one of my jobs as a chief scientist is to look for gaps. We can't solve every problem in the world, so we look for things that are keeping us from making progress. And if we can identify those gaps that are within our ability to attack them, then we can move everybody forward. And it has become a particular love of mine, identifying gaps. I think I'm reasonably good at it, hopefully. But often the hardest part is identifying those gaps. And I want to tell you first today, before we jump to Africa, about a gap that the Rotary Clubs of Houston solved for me. And I'm going to get a little emotional about this. I apologize.
It's very interesting. Very, very interesting.
12 years ago, I was diagnosed with colon cancer. and a fairly obscure version, and was sent off to the MD Anderson Hospital in Houston. Just for scale, this is the biggest cancer hospital in the world. They have 28,000 employees. And when I arrived there, I checked into the Rotary House Hotel. What is that? Well, it turns out that back in the late 80s, early 90s, the Rotarians of Houston realized that they had this world-class cancer hospital, and the world couldn't get there very easily. Because, you know, many of you know, unfortunately, that when you have cancer, the first thing you do is a bunch of tests and a bunch of scans and a bunch of discussions, and you're not checked into the hospital. So they built this hotel, 330 rooms. They raised $30 million to do that. I understand that's more than one crab feed. And then they gave the hotel to the hospital. They just gave it to them. The hospital contracted with Marriott to run it. And when you walk in there today, it's like any nice Marriott, except there's 20 languages being spoken in the lobby. And they, along with your room key, they give you your schedule for appointments at the hospital for the week. And they offer to do your initial blood tests right there in the hospital. I mean, in the hotel. But the thing that Amy and I remember from, by the way, I'm fine now. 5 years of going back and forth to Houston for checkups and you know, spending time in this hotel. And the thing we remember is the green jello. That, you know, when you have gastrointestinal cancer, you have certain things that you can and can't eat before you test, and the hotel restaurant knew that. It was a really special place. Well, as you can tell, I'm very fond of that memory. Okay. How does that link to sub-Saharan Africa? Believe it or not, I'm going to tie them together because we're going to talk about gaps. The gap that the Houston Rotary Club filled was to make it possible for people from around the world to get easily to Houston to get treated. And that has helped tens of thousands of people. Tens of thousands. Well, what's the gap? I mean, well, the important part about that is they didn't invent the cancer treatments. They didn't sink in $1 billion worth of cancer treatments that were, you know, being developed. But they did help with that simple problem of getting to the hospital. Well, what's going on in sub-Saharan Africa? You're all pretty familiar with this. Dozens of countries, hundreds of languages, the poorest place in the world. And it's not only poor, but it's energy poor. And we know this. Only 1/3 of the elementary schools have electricity. Only half of the high schools where they exist have electricity. How do you have high school without electricity? But that's not what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about the jobs that the young people will end up with when they grow up. And these are 3 regions of the developing world. And you see that Africa is by far the youngest. That largest bar down at the bottom are people who are between 0 and 4 years old. Their population is growing dramatically. It's young, and these people are going to need jobs. Today, when they grow up, that middle cadre, you know, the 14 to 20-year-olds, they work in their family's business, whatever that was. Most of them are subsistence farms. Most of these people end up in agriculture, and it's not really a wage job. They're working on their family farm. And the question is, how do we convert that? The gap is, how do we get these people from being subsistence farmers to being commercial farmers, you know, the kind of farmers that we meet around here? Well, this is my barn in Ohio. I grew up on a farm. We raised sheep. That barn was actually built during the 1880s for dairy cattle. And the important thing about that barn and every other barn in the northern United States is it's a storage device. Sure, you store the animals there in the winter, but more importantly, you store their feed. That's a corn crib right here. And the back, the big building, is for putting loose hay into. When I lived there, we just put baled hay in there. You can only put it in about 4 bales high before the building would collapse, which we didn't want. So, but in the days of loose hay, they would fill that, it's the size of this room, they would fill it to the ceiling with loose hay. And the magical thing about that is that during the winter, your cows could continue producing milk and your business could continue making money all winter. Storage enabled a real commercial activity. These women in Nigeria are growing tomatoes. They don't have a winter problem. They're equatorial Africa. They can grow crops all year round. But their problem is getting those crops to the market on the same day that they're picked, because they can't keep. If they don't get them to market the same day, they're lost. And that's obviously a huge challenge for them. Even worse if you're trying to produce milk. Dairy cattle in Africa. They don't have any problem feeding the cattle like we would have in Ohio. Their problem is keeping the milk cold enough that it doesn't spoil before it gets to market. Now, many of you are familiar with what's been done with solar lighting in Africa. This is magical. This is a really great thing that philanthropy and generosity have done, is to bring light to homes that don't have any light at night. And basically this allows the day to be extended, people to do better in school, women to have a pursuit other than just housework. And now we need to look at what the next stage is, because this doesn't enable jobs. This enables a better home life, but it doesn't create the businesses that we're talking about. So something like this does. This is a facility in Ghana that is a fruit storage facility. They have solar panels, and underneath it, these are people underneath it. I apologize for the funny perspective. But the people are accessing a refrigerated storage unit that's underneath the solar panels, being shaded by the solar panels, being powered by the solar panels, and being powered by batteries so that it runs 24/7. And they can keep their fruit in there for 22 days. And this enables arbitrage. They don't have to sell the fruit on the day it's picked. They can sell the fruit on the day that it's worth the most. As any of you who are in business know, it's a good idea. That's a big deal. So this kind of commercial thing is going to enable better agricultural commerce in Africa. So let's look at why this is possible today. And you all know me. I'm going to show you a few graphs and some numbers. I apologize. It's never going to stop. You can throw me out of the club right now if you want. So Africa is buying enormous amounts of solar power from China. The whole continent, about almost 20 gigawatts last year. Individual countries, significant amounts. Just to give you a sense of what a gigawatt is, the city of Livermore uses 6% of a gigawatt. Right now we're using 6% of a gigawatt. So a gigawatt's a lot of electricity. And these graphs are just how much is coming in from China, because it's all coming from China. Why is China able to sell so much solar into the developing world? Well, China last year installed 543 gigawatts of renewable power inside the country of China. The entire grid in the United States is only twice that big. They did that in 1 year. Okay, that's pretty impressive. I mean, I'm impressed. But what's more interesting is they have the capacity to do 3 times as much. They can build 3 times as many solar panels as they're installing internally. So, what do you think they're doing with those other 2/3? They're selling them to the rest of the world. And of course, they're loaning them the money to buy them too, because they're good business people. But this is what's enabling, suddenly, Africa to get these things at reasonable prices. But this is still solar panels. What about the storage? Because this talk is really about storage, but I couldn't put that in the title because you all would have run away. The question is, how does storage enable this to happen? The price of batteries is just plummeting. You've all seen that if you've gone into Home Depot to buy a tool that's battery powered. But these are utility scale batteries. The price is just heading for the floor. And what this is doing is it's making it possible to run all these solar systems with full-scale, real live utility scale batteries, kilowatt-hour scale batteries. And of course, the total storage in the whole country is growing rapidly. So what this enables now is to do something called mini-grids. This is a mini-grid in Nigeria. It's about 5 houses worth of solar, more or less, here in Livermore. You could run 5 of our houses on that mini-grid. Obviously, they can run more of their houses on that. It has batteries in that hut in the back, and it has a diesel generator, because their job is to provide power 24/7. And that's the problem in Nigeria, where there is electricity, which is only about half the country, it's erratic. But if you want to run a business, if you want to put your fruit into that storage facility, you don't want the power to go off. You want it to stay on. And that's what a facility like this provides. So whether you're providing it just to the user or whether you're providing a little grid where you're distributing it to the local community, you can do that with this kind of system. That system costs, to purchase it, install it, about $1 million. Sounds like a lot of money. But today, in Africa, that kind of money is readily available. Local sovereign funds, philanthropies, of course, are loaning people money, the local equivalent of the savings and loan, which creates businesses, creates jobs, creates more money, brings more money into the savings and loan. It works everywhere. It works in Africa. The development of that, you might think, is something that you would be afraid that they'll be too small, that it's not going to grow well. So let me take one more deep dive. I apologize to you for this one. I was very interested in how much those systems cost. Why are they doing as well as they are? And by the way, only half of the money that's available to build those things is actually being spent today, so there's a gap. How do we get that money spent? So I looked at what the cost of building small systems in blue, which is basically, that would be a rooftop system in your house here, versus a pretty large system, a megawatt system, which is, so we need 60 of those to power the city of Livermore. How much do they cost in terms of what we call levelized cost of electricity? What does that mean? That means all in, how much does it cost you to buy this system, to borrow the money, to get the permits, and after you run it, to tear it down and leave it in a green field again? And so, as you know, in the United States and in Australia and most of the developed world, those small systems are much more expensive per kilowatt than a large system. That's why we build large systems. The scale is just good for us. But in the developing world, that difference collapses. The cost per kilowatt in Nigeria is almost identical. And the rest of these are so small that you don't need to say, oh, I need to wait until I can build a giant system, because if you can build a 10 or that was a 50 kilowatt system that I showed you a picture of, so it would be in between these. But the point is, in Nigeria, the cost is the same per kilowatt. And it's close in these other developing countries. That's pretty magical, because it no longer means that you have to build a big system. You can build a small system. And in Nigeria, they're building small systems and aggregating them. They're combining them into larger grids, or the local grid company is buying them up. It's really amazing how this all works. And the price kind of blew me away. How much does it, you all pretty familiar with how much you pay for, how many of you know how much you pay for electricity per kilowatt hour? Oh, the rest of you need to look at your bill. It's twice as much as that, okay? PG&E charges us about 35 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity. You could build in Nigeria a system to do that for about half that much. Now, this is still real money. This is still millions of dollars that are required, but the point is that money is available, and so the question is, what does it take to get that money flowing? How do we get this to happen now that the Chinese have made the equipment available, and these philanthropies and sovereign funds are making the money available? What's the gap? Well, I contend that the gap is people. And let's go back to the barns for a minute. This is a barn in Pennsylvania. It's a lot bigger than the barn on the farm I grew up on, because this was a serious business. This barn would have enabled about 12 employees to work full-time around the year in this farm. The owner would have been able to send his kids to college, and I know that because my grandfather was sent to college by a barn like this. PhD in horticulture, 1925. This storage device made it possible for people to make real money farming. But Mitsubishi and Siemens didn't go around rural Pennsylvania offering to build barns for people. How did those barns get built? People.
Whoa.
And it's kind of a myth, but they would put these barns up in one day. Now, there was a lot of preparation that went into that one day. You all in Rotary know about one-day activities you have to prepare for 6 months. But the point is that it took a lot of people, and some of them had special skills. There are carpenters there are bricklayers, there are joiners. This barn and my farm saw cut lumber, but every joint was cut with a chisel. Everything was joined by hand. So there are people who knew how to do these specialized jobs, and then they could get together and build everyone a barn. And every single farm had a barn, because you had to. That's just what it was. So if you have the people who have the training, you can do these jobs. Now, about this point, I know in a lot of talks, somebody puts up a QR code, says you can donate, you can help, and I'm not there yet. I wouldn't mind being there, but I'm not. What I've done right now is say, this is a gap that's within the scale of philanthropy, of charities' reach. We can help with training. We can help, I'm talking to my friends in Europe who can bring people in from Africa to Europe. It's harder for us to do it here. But for the next couple of years, we can think about what we can do to make this easier for these people to learn to do these jobs. Deliver the skills, the knowledge, and the experience to the developing world. I don't have an answer for how to do that yet. I hope that some of you will be able to help me work through that problem, but I think it's a gap that we can all fill. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Roger, for the illuminating presentation. And it's our custom to provide
questions. Come on, Pat just wants to get off the stage. There we go.
Roger will now entertain questions.
I have the mic. I'm going to ask you a question, Roger. And actually, I want to about the solar. There's a lot of international projects of different organizations that do solar, and one of them that comes to mind for me is a group called Powering Potential. That they're an educational nonprofit in New York, and they install solar panels on schools in primarily Kenya to power Rachel systems, laptops in the schools. So I can't remember exactly what it costs to do that, but it's one panel at a time for them, and one school at a time. And you might want to contact them about how they got going.
Thank you. Let's talk afterwards. The painful thing for this country is, remember the difference between the blue and the orange bars here? It's gigantic. Doing a job like that inside the United States, 20 times more expensive than doing it in Africa. When has that been true before?
So, hi, Roger, Yolanda from Genco. I'm curious, so I work in economic development, and one of the actual outstanding models for revolutionary economic development in Africa is the country of Morocco. They have used their ability as a monarchy to make very strategic investments, not only in their own country, but with their actual market being Africa, focusing on Africa. So I'm curious, based on what Morocco is leading in Africa, where are they identifying the workforce gaps, and how are they interacting in the countries in Africa to build that capacity, and where are you plugging into the sort of existing momentum that's coming from investments that African countries are already making in Africa?
Well, I'd like to dig into that with you more afterwards. I don't have an answer for that. What I do know is the reason we call it sub-Saharan Africa is all those countries along the Mediterranean are enormously wealthy compared to everybody else. So they have money to do those things, and many of those sovereign wealth funds are coming from the oil that comes from that part of the world. So there is an interaction, but I'd love to talk to you about what that could be.
Roger, as I watch the news, it seems like I might get a misconception that Africa has a lot of turmoil.
You might be right.
Yeah. So how does that really interfere with these efforts? Is war and conflict, civil war, a problem in people?
Of course. And if you're talking about a $500 million investment, which is what it would cost to go down there and build a gas-fired power plant and the grid to feed the electricity to a part of a city, that becomes a real impediment because you have to know you have a 10-year runway to do that project. But projects like I showed you don't need that. Those go up in a month. And so your line of sight doesn't need to be so far because let's face it, it's never all that long in Africa, unfortunately. But I think more energy and better jobs is going to improve that because it always does.
So you gave the example of the barn raising, and the question that I have is it, what can people do in the United States to close that gap in terms of small and large costs for installing solar? I hear every once in a while stories of ways of systems of putting in solar where you don't actually have to have all the fancy electronics inverters.
You know, they're a little more expensive than putting up a 1 megawatt, but they're not that expensive. So let's not say that you can't afford them. But the biggest problem there is time. It takes time to put things together, to get your permits reviewed. Where's the city? Permits reviewed. No, actually, Livermore's really good about that. But these things are all a business cost that you don't pay in Nigeria. And time is always, especially when you're borrowing the money, that's the thing to close. If you can close that time, you're going to save everyone a lot of money. And of course, right now we don't buy Chinese components, and that's okay. We can afford to pay for our own stuff, but the Chinese stuff would be cheaper. All right. Thank you all very much.
Maybe I could use your mic. So, Roger, we have this tradition of giving a speaker a bottle of wine or from here olive oil. I picked this special bottle of wine.
He has good taste.
Let's see. Is Don Sweeney around here? Yeah, Don, I've got a bag here I'd like you to take a look at, too.
Okay. Here, I'm gonna let you guys become tethered here. I can't stand still, sorry.
We'll park the wine right out here. What's in this way?
So, we have a little something here for Roger because he is now the newest member of and of course, you have to put your new red badge on your Rotary shirt and a Rotary pin. And when you go to the parade, you can wear your new Rotary hat. Welcome to Rotary.
Thank you to all of you. I'm really looking forward to it. So I'm going to be in Milan for the parade. If you don't see me, that's I did too far to come back.
Without further ado, the meeting is adjourned.